I'm Will McLeod.
William or Will?
I go by Will. I lived in the Middle East for many years, and they didn't understand the transition from William to Bill or Billy. So
I don't either. It doesn't make you.
So there's a lot of English names that are like that, right? But because I lived over there, I kind of went with William for a while because that made sense in business. And then when I got back here, I just decided to change it up a little bit. Instead of going back to Bill or Billy, I went to Will. So
And the last name McLeod?
McLeod. Yep.
Like CLOUD, like McLeod?
MCLEOD, like McLeod County, or like the true Scottish spelling. I always like to say if it ain't Scottish, it's crap.
He's got an accent, I do.
He's got an accent. Yeah, the Scottish accent would probably make my Scottish heritage embarrassed.
So we met when you were up in the northern, was it Alexandria or something like that, or St. Cloud? Albertville.
Yeah, years ago, we were based out of Albertville when we first moved back from the Middle East. That's where we went because my parents lived out there. And yeah.
And it was Cloud Media.
It was Cloud Media. It still is. So Cloud Media is my main company. We're a content marketing agency. So we make content so great that even your competitors can't stop liking your posts. So that's everything from video production, SEO, websites, graphic design.
Okay.
So yeah, we make great content for our customers. But from that company was born this new venture that we have started. And this started, really as an inspiration to me. We started a podcast for our biggest client, longest client here in Minnesota, which is All Weather Roof. We started a podcast called The Chills about a year, I think a little over a year, almost a year and a half ago. And through that, I've roped in a lot of my friends. Chris McCune, who was sitting on here before, was one of our guests. And I just learned there's so many inspirational stories and inspirational moments. And I just I started out as a broadcast journalist in the U.S. Army. And so that was actually my second MOS, but that was the MOS that I finished my time with. And so while I was in the military, I was out in the field, all the fun vacation spots like Iraq and Afghanistan, covering stories on soldiers doing their thing.
So were you doing that thing like Robin Williams? Good morning, Vietnam.
I was not. No, I wasn't that radio guy like Robin Williams, and I don't have quite the radio voice that he does. Okay. So I got the radio face though. Okay. Face for radio. So, so I did that for many years. And then when I got out of the military, I went back to Qatar and actually worked there for many years. I was like the media manager for the U.S. base. And so I started managing, people outside of the video realm. I started working with graphic designers and printers and website developers. At that time, I was managing them on the base. And then I decided to venture off the base and go start my own company. And that's why I started my first agency when I lived in Qatar. It was called Creative Design. Then my wife and I started a video production company after that. And then while I was in Qatar, actually, when we were thinking about leaving, I actually started Cloud Media as the first branch of it, believe it or not, was in Dubai. And then the second branch of it was here in Minnesota. My third branch was back in Qatar. So basically, after we came back, I was still bouncing back and forth a lot. We lived in a place and at a time where we were in the middle of a blue ocean. There was a lot of opportunity and a lot of cool things we can do. And we knew a lot of people knew us. So a lot of my reputation was still strong there. So for many years I was going back, but eventually, slowly started focusing my energy in Albertville where you and I met, and then focusing my energy into, kind of the US version of Cloud Media. And then just this year, in February, for a little while, I had this vision or idea of starting a podcast studio because I just love the stories that I hear. I love learning from people and, people from different points of view and from different parts of the world, et cetera, just have so many interesting stories to tell. And I really love that. So that's kind of how I got into this second business, which is now called PodcastCrew.
PodcastCrew. Yeah, it sounds like the way that you serve your customers is sort of different than these other content creators in that, like, if you create a podcast and no one's there to hear it, did you really create a podcast?
Right.
So you're doing marketing and stuff too it sounds like you're helping them get their content seen rather than just recording it.
Yeah, so there's two different avatars for podcasts out there, right? Two primary avatars. You have the DIY person who's going to buy a microphone and computer and set everything up at their desk and do it themselves. And that's totally fine. we really are a turnkey solution for, people who they say, look, I want to do this. I want to do it seriously. I want a guy who's got 20 years in media production behind it, providing all the expertise, et cetera. And then, yes, a very, very important piece. The statistics say that like 83% of podcasts never make it past episode 3. Because it's actually a lot of work. Even your DIY people, they get into it, they realize, oh, wow, we have to do all this editing stuff, which I don't really know how to do. Then we have to try to get it out there and have people watch it, and they get depressed because nobody's paying attention to it. So, yeah, we definitely help with those pieces, as well as having this beautiful, kind of turnkey studio where they can just come in and sit down. They don't have to own the equipment. If they want to do a vidcast, which is really our claim to fame, right? Podcasts are primarily audio. Vidcast adds the video piece to it. And that's really what's trending in the industry now is everybody's turning into the video part because TikTok and YouTube Shorts are actually the best places to generate more eyeballs on your content. So if you don't have a video aspect to it, it's very difficult to kind of promote in those particular channels.
What seems like here, it's kind of nice that you just kind of come in and flip a switch. Because what stops me a lot is, I got to plug in my microphones and adjust my camera. And here it's kind of like ready to go. Like I said, turnkey kind of thing.
It is. And, a lot of times we'll consult, and have a pre-meeting where they can come in and tour the studio. Studio tours are free. We also do this cool little free podcast thing called Spotlight a couple times a month. So if you're out there and you're interested and you want to come in and just kind of poke it and see how it works, come see us. You can reach out to us through our website, PodcastCrew.online. There's a couple different ways to contact us, but contact us and ask us more about Spotlight or book a studio tour, et cetera, et cetera. And I lost track of the initial question there. Got off on a tangent.
Well, I do that too. I do that a lot. And that's part of the challenge with the internet is someone thinks they know where you are and then they can't find you again because there's so much other noise.
Right.
So I got a new thing, and that is, do you want people to know where you are in the Twin Cities to come here?
Yeah, I mean, we're based in Robbinsdale. Our studio is in the basement of the 4180 building on West Broadway. But we're really kind of by appointment. So I mean, people aren't typically just going to show up, knock on the door. We're not going to start a podcast for you that way. You kind of have to pre-book it. It's better to come in and do a studio tour and get an idea of the facilities, get an idea, because basically what we will do from a tech support side is we're going to set your whole stage up for you before you come in. So we've got 2 other podcasts filming today, and both of them are going to be in different areas of this space. So what you see here is kind of our main one, the one that we always have set up, but we'll move furniture around and reset. So I'll have a guy later today with he's a single speaker with a TV behind him, and then we're actually going to loop in somebody live and live stream over the internet. So his guest is going to be in Singapore. So we have that capability as well, being able to bring people in from outside. We have a guest from Texas coming up on Sunday. So yeah, lots of options.
That's one of the interesting things about this whole internet thing. Like I had an earlier guest, Chris, with the MMA. He probably remembers when the UFC did Fight Island. And the COVID thing didn't slow them down. They just went onto an island without an audience and then pay-per-view broadcasted out there. To be able to reach the world.
They did that with a lot of the sports, but yeah, it was weird. It was weird, wasn't it? Like you would not hear any audience cheering, or you just see black behind where all the coaches and stuff. It was really weird. I remember that too.
But we're still able to keep the thing going, even though everybody else was, you got to put a mask on and lock your doors. And
absolutely.
You can keep the ball rolling, because a lot of people don't realize that once you got a camera up there, you're actually reaching the world if you want to. With all this stuff,
I'm a little bit biased with video production. I come from a broadcast background, but I always like to tell my customers when they're thinking about marketing as a whole that video production is your next salesman, right? The cost of it typically is going to be less than it would cost you to hire another salesperson in your business. And that one video, a good, well-done video, could talk to 100,000 more people in a day than your salesman.
Over and over and over.
Over and over and over. Yeah. So if you put a good message together and get it done professionally and in a nice way, it's really of a great value for every customer.
And video feels more authentic. Like, what are your thoughts on like using a green screen? Because this isn't a green screen. This is a real deal.
Yeah, I mean, I've done green screens before in life, but I kind of like the authentic, real feel in the moment. So I would rather light it and decorate it and have a, something that we could repeat and go back to.
When you see that real estate mogul on the beach, you go, oh, wait a minute, you're not on a beach.
Yeah. Right. He's probably in Minnesota. It's probably still freaking cold outside.
So are you working in a specific niche of customers, or is anybody welcome to come in no matter what whether a coach or a speaker?
Yeah, I guess we have a couple of avatars. We have a couple of types of people we think would be a good fit for us. We know that there's a lot of CEOs or executives in larger companies out there that have been on podcasts or are looking to start a podcast. That's a great client for us. And then, speakers, coaches, those types of people that already are trying to communicate a message to large groups of people on a regular basis. We think this is a perfect spot for them.
What do you do to get to help the people that are camera shy? As soon as the camera goes on, they get scared and they clam up.
I'd say if you're camera shy, a podcast is such a great way to tiptoe into the water, because even like you and I are just chatting here, obviously I'm not camera shy, but there are people that we've had in here that are a little bit shy, that didn't even necessarily know or think they wanted to do a podcast. And when they sit down, and typically the other host, let's say, is a friend of theirs, it's just two people having a chat. Right. Very soon you forget about the fact that there's lights and cameras behind you, and you and I are just talking to each other.
Now that you bring it up, I'm all nervous.
Are you nervous? Sorry, Brad. I know you get nervous easily.
I'm good with it.
That's a joke anyways. I know.
What are some of the other services that you offer beyond the recording and the marketing? Is there other stuff that you consider as a service that you provide your customers?
Specifically for Podcast Crew. So we do the recording, turnkey recording in our studio. We can also go on site and bring all of our gear to the client, because several of our clients prefer that, to have our gear with them. And also we can do like a live streaming sort of scenario where your guest can be remote, or even both guests could be remote, and we could record that and put that together for you. And then obviously there's the post-production piece. So editing typically is the thing that makes people only reach 3 episodes, right? You think once you film it that everything's done, but it's often not. There's a lot of polish that needs to be put on, or you put no polish on and nobody watches because it's just low quality junk, And so we help you kind of take that and polish it up, and build an intro, build an outro, create a theme for the podcast so that people are getting a good message of high quality, and they want to come back and watch again. And then, when it comes to after that, we have like a distribution phase. So we will basically put it on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, basically all the big players that are out there that you've heard of, that you want your podcast on. We will handle that piece for you. And then, I think that's a pretty good roll up of the range of things that we can do.
I always like to think outside the normal box of stuff, like even thinking without even a box. And like when you were telling me this stuff, my mind started thinking about maybe a company that has like a executive suite at one of the Twins ball games or something. You could actually bring the equipment into the suite and do something for their company at the actual game.
We've done it. We've done that. We've done trade shows where they just have a booth at a trade show. We'll bring a portable setup and set it at the back of their booth, and they can bring people in off the floor. So there's a lot of different scenarios that could work really well. And you think trade shows. So also one thing that's quite good with current equipment and capabilities is that trade shows, it's loud, right? It's never going to not be loud.
Right.
But with a good set of headphones and a good set of microphones,
sure,
we can actually record that very cleanly and actually get rid of most of that background noise. So the message that they're trying to get forward is still quite clear. And the interviewer and interviewee typically will be able to hear each other very well with the equipment that we have as well. So
maybe you could make me famous like Joe Rogan. We get Chris back here, and we could set it up at one of his fights or something, and I could be the Joe Rogan and interview the fighters.
There you go. We could certainly make that work.
I'm so selfish.
The Brad Rogan, huh? That's your name today, Brad Rogan. I like it.
I might get that domain if it's available.
Why not?
And then get a lawsuit.
Right? Why not?
Well, how does that work with the? We'll bring the legal aspect into it. Is there anything that you got to be careful of with logo placement or something? If someone's got a brand name drink, you got to cut that out, or?
I would say generally yes and no. So when you in the broadcast world. So when you are doing something that is news related, so you're just providing information about that's mostly fact based, some opinion based, and you're just speaking about something. A lot of times you don't have to be that concerned about having the Starbucks logo over in the corner because you're not promoting them and they're not promoting you. You're just having a Starbucks drink. But it can get a little bit fishy or a little bit more complicated when your podcast starts to make money. If you're using it as a revenue generator, because then you're crossing in and now you've got logos of other things.
It's that money thing, yeah.
Yeah, as soon as there's money being made, it's no longer entertainment. It's strictly entertainment. It's no longer strictly news. Now you're kind of crossing that threshold and making it a revenue generation tool. And everybody wants their cut of when somebody's making money, right?
Well, this stuff can kind of get out of hand. I think we went over time because I started getting interested in all this stuff. So could you give us a piece of inspiration that may drive someone maybe that's holding someone back? Could you inspire them to give you a call?
I mean, I started this podcast crew studio out of inspiration because I really like to hear people's stories. So what I would say is that if you have a message that you feel like could resonate, and you don't have to have your tribe yet, right? That's what I try to tell people is don't start a podcast because you want to make money. Don't start a podcast because you think those people are out there already. Start a podcast because you're inspired. You really have something you want to say and you want to share. And you want to do it in literally the easiest format that you could do. Sit down, have a conversation, right? You're just chatting with people. It's a really nice way just to kind of get all of that out of your system and start talking. And what you'll find is like every podcast ever, including Joe Rogan's podcast, is it's going to start from nothing. You're going to have no audience. Soon you're going to have a little bit of audience. And then over time, if you stick to it and keep having, a regular schedule, regular release and a regular, message that you're putting out there, you're going to find that people are going to gather around that message. You're going to find your tribe, and then that tribe is going to grow and grow. So,
okay. So how do they find the podcast crew?
Well, the easiest way is through our website. It's actually podcastcrew.online. So not .com, but .online.
Got it.
And through there, you can find, a way to contact us via email, phone number, our address, all that good stuff. And there's also a booking tool on there. So if you're ready to book your podcast right away, you can do that. We've got a quote generator there. So if you just kind of want to get a feel for how much it costs, you can do that right through the website as well.
Perfect. I think that's a wrap.
That's a wrap, man. Thank you. Hey, it's Will with the Podcast Crew team. Spotlight is a vidcast shot at the Podcast Crew Studios in Minneapolis. We would love for you to be our guest. Email us at the email address on your screen below to get a copy of the upcoming schedule. It's free, it's easy, and it's a great way to try out a podcast or a vidcast with our pro team. We do an in-person, in-studio version if you're in the Twin Cities area, and also an online version if you're somewhere else. We'd love to have you, hear your story, and help you start your podcast journey. Thanks. Get in touch today.